Good evening. I would like to call to order the June 3rd, 2025 Little Rock City Board of Directors meeting. We would like to welcome those in attendance as well as those watching at home or streaming online. Madam Clerk, if you would, please call the roll.
Director Miller, Director Richardson, Director Webb, Director Peck, Director Hines, Director Lewis, Director Campuris, Director Phillips, Director Adcock, Vice Mayor Wyrick, Mayor Scott.
Present. I will now have the invocation from Director Hines.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, we come here today to address Dear Lord, we come here today to address the needs and wants of the constituents and residents of Little Rock that we work for. Please let us seek to hear your word and their voices tonight and do your will. Please watch over all of our city employees as they go out and work in the community. Please protect them and keep them safe. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. May you please stand for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members of the City Board, we have three modifications to tonight's agenda. M1, M2, and we also have a deferral of item number 24.
Mayor asked that M1 and M2 be added to the consent agenda, and we defer item 24 until July 15th.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read the consent agenda.
A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with the Randy W. Thomas Living Trust in an amount of $900,000 plus associated closing costs for the purchase of approximately 31 acres of land by the Little Rock Port Authority for use in economic prospect recruitment and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Lindsay Warehouse LLC and Once LLC in an amount of $500,000 plus associated closing costs for the purchase of approximately 17 acres of land by the Little Rock Port Authority for use in economic prospect recruitment and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a permanent right-of-way easement between STT Incorporated and the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and to execute the necessary documents and to take all necessary steps to secure and record this easement and for other purposes. A resolution to amend Little Rock, Arkansas Resolution Number 16,151, November 7th, 2023, to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with JTS Financial Services, LLC in an amount not to exceed $395,000 plus applicable taxes and fees for employment benefit consultation services and for other purposes. Appoint Jay Barth as the Little Rock representative to the Central Arkansas Water Board of Commissioners and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Motorola Solutions Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $176,390.71 plus applicable taxes and fees for the installation of a MAC alert system for temporary fire station number 9 and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a grant agreement with Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund Incorporated for $160,000 in funding for inception and operation of a municipal office of financial empowerment for a period of 2 years and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Motorola Solutions Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $118,891.19 plus applicable taxes and fees for the purchase of up to 16 APX 6500 single band P25 mobile radios to equip new Little Rock Police Department patrol vehicles and for other purposes. A resolution to set June 17th, 2025 as the date of public hearing to form and lay off City of Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multi-Purpose Improvement District Number 2025-001 Mountain Brook and for other purposes. A resolution to set June 17, 2025 as the date for a public hearing to form and lay off City of Little Rock Municipal Property Owners Multipurpose Improvement District Number 2025-002, Mountain Brook Recreational District, and for other purposes. A resolution to extend the Friends of Mosaic Cultural Center Temporary Entertainment District for 1 day on June 21st, 2025, and for other purposes. A resolution to set June 17th, 2025 as the date of hearing on the appeal of the Planning Commission's action in approving a special use permit titled Tenant Group Home 1 Special Use Permit located at 205 North Woodrow Street in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. A resolution to set June 17th, 2025 as the date of hearing on the appeal of the Planning Commission's action in approving a special use permit titled Tenant Group Home 2 Special Use Permit located at 822 North Monroe Street in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. That concludes the consent agenda.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, we'll now go to citizens' communication. Allison Yamuk. If I pronounced it wrong, I apologize. Yamuch. I apologize. I couldn't read it correctly. If you'll pull down the microphone.
I have under construction a home at 5219 R Street, which is adjacent to 1819 Harrison, and Jeff Fuller is going to put a very large home with a 3-car garage that will be abutting my property. The street is supposed to be Newton, but it is only 11 feet wide. And he typically does a double garage. In this case, he's doing a triple. They're only 16 feet wide, and anyone with a long SUV is going to be in my yard and possibly hit my house. And I never received any information from the Planning Commission that he was even entertaining the idea of purchasing that house to tear down and build something new. And I went to the meeting, it was a Board of Adjustment, and it was like it was a done deal. They quibbled a little bit about whether that was really a street or an alley, but since it's only 11 feet wide and is currently 1 lane, I don't feel like that I've been told the house is either 5,200 or 5,400 square feet. That lot is only 140 feet deep, as is mine, but mine is 90 degrees. Mine faces R Street instead of Harrison. So my problem is with the procedure and what was followed, because when I came to the meeting, it was the Board of Adjustment, and I never received a notice from the Planning Commission that this project was even under consideration. And I don't know what to do.
Yes, ma'am. We'll have Director Brad Jordan visit with you.
Okay, is that all I need to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Norma Huffman.
I want to publicly thank Director Adcock and Director Wyrick for coming to our meeting Thursday night. We had a community policing meeting where we are trying to get PD and the city to help us get trust back with the police department. Anybody that was here in the 90s, we had mounted police, we had bike police, we had police on foot talking to people that lived in the neighborhoods. We don't have that anymore. Last Wednesday, and it's still really raw, but last Wednesday, I had a bad experience with Little Rock PD. Anybody that knows me, I'm not the one to be afraid of anything. I was afraid to my core, to the point to where I have no choice but to carry protection now, walking down my street, because there was a gentleman that was out of his head, and the way he was acting was the main reason why I was afraid. But this man had a knife, and I was afraid the man was going to stab me to death walking home. I called 911. The dispatcher was more concerned about my safety than the officer that I spoke to after I had to walk into the middle of the street to talk to him. I've lost every ounce of trust with the police department. I am slowly losing trust with the city. I've been here for at least 20 years of my life, and now I'm afraid of the police. I shouldn't be. I've been in Southwest all my life. The entire time I've lived here, I've lived in Southwest. And now, 6 days ago, I'm afraid. And I've never been afraid before. But what I need from you guys is help. We need this community policing to start back up again. I understand this budget thing. I understand not enough people. But at least bring something back to Southwest. Bring something back that we can actually start believing that there's actually people that give a damn. Because that cop acted like my safety was the least of his concern.
Thank you, Ms. Huffman. Reverend Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. Esteemed members of this board. I would just read a statement. That's a good homiletic practice. Otherwise, I'll go over my time. As you may know, by now on Saturday, May 31st, several students participating in what was called a junior takeover were handcuffed, detained, and cited by Little Rock police for doing what students have done at least since I did it at the top of the summer of 1996, at least since then. What I witnessed from afar on Saturday is part of the problem. Indeed, it is the problem. The discretionary powers of individual police officers were there to shackle and to criminalize Black children. The people ostensibly charged with, indeed with an institutional mandate to make our children feel safe, are instead and again there to traumatize and to criminalize. These children then inherit a multi-generational fear, mistrust, and disdain, even unfortunately, for police. This is the macabre heritage of police in Black communities. Reverend Dr. MLK, the most prominent and prophetic voice in this country's history, asked a question in 1967 that bears, anybody in good governance ought to ask this question every so often. Where do we go from here? Chaos or community? And then we have to be clear on who has the institutional power to decide which direction we go. What happened to those children on Saturday is inexcusable, and what can happen beyond then is a choice that we can make. I want to echo what the dear sister who was up here said. We're uncoordinated, but from all parts of the city, we're asking for a plan for community policing, a plan whereby children are not detained for doing stuff that children regularly do. In fact, the same thing was happening at Alsop Park with 0 arrests, 0 detainments, and 0 handcuffs. Let that sink in. That said, there will be a community meeting on Saturday for the affected youth and their families. Friday, June 6th, and you can holler at me for details. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Davis. Mr. Osiris Bali.
You want to see it today?
The school board member, Mr. Osiris Bali. I was going to start to say he's not affiliated with the school board as he was about to make these points.
Yeah, I'm not affiliated, but I just wanted you to say it today because I wanted y'all to hear it from a school board member.
My apologies for not saying it initially.
Nah, I'm just joking with you, bro. But I just wanted y'all to know that I do represent Zone 2 for Little Rock School District. It's a pleasure to do that. I've been doing it since December. But this incident that happened on Saturday, I know you, Mayor Scott, graduating within the last 25 years, know that the senior activities, when you're a rising senior, that's something that all children take pride in the city of Little Rock. I can remember before I graduated from McClellan, we went to parks and had what we called a wet fest, and people would go out. We have our water guns, do a cookout, and just have fun, just celebrating the fact that we were having that milestone of graduating. And so 9 days after the graduation, this event occurred, junior takeover, rising seniors having fun, and they were harassed by the Little Rock Police Department at Moorheart Park and at Interstate Park, as well as Mapleville Elementary School, which is a community school. And so to my understanding, part of the commitment for community schools is to ensure equitable support for the most vulnerable students and communities, as well as emotional, mental, and physical support. So these kids were detained and handcuffed at a community school and 2 parks of the city. And I just want the directors to understand that the excitement of being a graduate is something that we should encourage. Also, these are children. If they could go somewhere where adults gathered, then they would do that, but we have parks for that reason. And so they enjoyed themselves at the park. So I'm asking that the city put some pressure on the Little Rock Police Department to drop all those charges against those students for loitering or tailgating or whatever the tickets were, because that's creating a pipeline to the prison system for them before they even have the opportunity to walk across that stage and graduate in the city of Little Rock. I work during the legislative session. I do racial equity work for the Arkansas Public Policy Panel. And part of our platform and our priorities was to discuss juvenile fines and fees in the legislative session, because we know that juvenile fines and fees are a burden and a barrier for a lot of parents and students. It also hurts their relationships, and our kids shouldn't be indebted into the criminal justice system. And so also I'm on the Racial and Cultural Diversity Commission, and I've been serving there for over 5 years. Recently, we had 2 police officers come on to the call and brag about Chief Heath Helton's initiative and mission to do more community policement and youth engagement. They bragged about the programs that they had where they were encouraging youth to develop relationships with the police officers. What we saw on Saturday was the exact opposite of that. So I want y'all to put some pressure on the police department and let kids be kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barley. Johnny Miller.
Hello, everyone. Hi. My name is Johnny Miller. I just wish to speak on the issue of my rear of my home being blocked by the it's just blocked for no reason. It's an alleyway. It hadn't been officially closed. I haven't received any type of notice stating that the city wanted to close that alleyway. But Mr. Howard authorized, with the new development that's going on with the property, the homes that have been built next to me, also authorized that the alleyway be blocked. Right now, I can just go around it, but eventually, after other properties are built, and if it's closed in, I would have no entry to my rear on my home from the rear. I still can come in from the front, but I still like the use of the alleyway. If it may be possible, could that be changed? Could that blockage, that fence there be removed? I know I have no authority to move it myself, and surely I think that would be against any and all rights that you all have. I'm asking that it be removed, for I do not think that was legal, even if it was authorized. I didn't get no notice, and I'm asking if it may be removed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Ms. Dion Dantzler.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'm not a talker, so y'all just bear with me. But the problem I'm having is what happened as well this weekend with the children. If you go to my page, Restore the Rock, you will see that that's the first thing posted on the page. I have been advocating for children for over 20 years. I have a youth organization called the Home Team Youth Center, the HTYC. Some of you all probably have heard it and seen it. My problem, that's one of my problems, but the main problem is for these kids to have somewhere to go. I have been petitioning against, I know it's the school, y'all don't have anything to do with the school district, but I have put out a petition to stop the sale of Cloverdale. My children went to Cloverdale, elementary and junior high. My mom lived down the street. I know Zalda Academy is getting ready to buy the school. If not, they may have, but I had a petition to stop that because I feel like our people need somewhere to go. Our community needs somewhere to go. I'm trying to put a social center there for all of the needs of the community, not just a school. I believe that we need more than just that. We need healing in our community. We have no place to go. Everything, all the other communities are like, the Hispanic community, the Chinese community. I see everybody getting built up, but it's like all the black communities are getting torn down. All the schools, everything. We have nothing to look forward to. We have nothing to look back at. But I just want a meeting with, see if I can get a meeting with you, Mr. Scott, Ms. Adcock, to try to, I have a solution to the problem. I've been screaming it for years. I've come down to the city. I've been everywhere trying to get some help. All I get is people trying to take my ideas as opposed to working with me. Everybody can work together, I feel. It's enough community. We all need to join together. This is nothing we need to be separated on. And I'm asked that if I can please get a meeting with you all to talk more about helping our community.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Junior Tellez.
Hello. It's nice to be here again, and I'm so happy to see everyone here doing their civic duty today. The same civic duty that you, Mr. Mayor, praise. And I hope you guys all vote in favor for saving the homes of the neighbors you represent. The residents of the John Barrow community, myself included, have been praying for this, and we hope you guys do the just and good thing today. I stand here again representing now almost 160 petitioners who are deeply concerned about the City Zion project and its impact on our neighborhood. And we ask that you truly listen to our concerns and organize a meeting where more than just 7 of us can be heard. Some of us in the community feel that even some board members have disrespected our movement. There are those who believe that bureaucracy is being used to silence us, and we demand the same respect afforded to every citizen here in this city. We may not pay the most in property tax, but we are still your neighbors, people who live, work, and contribute here. We are citizens just like everywhere else. We are citizens just like the neighbors in Chenal, like the ones in Hillcrest, and like every person here in this room today. All of us here are fulfilling our civic duty, and we deserve respect for that. You were all elected here to represent us and not insult us. Some of you in this board have called us uneducated, liars, and even tried to intimidate us not coming into these meetings. So today, we ask you to stand with your constituents, listen to our voices, and do not let policy outweigh people. Give us a meeting to where even half of the 160 people that are on this petition that this project affects can come in and be heard. I'm more than happy to give you guys my contact information again. And last thing, so I can wrap it up. The measure of a city's greatness is not in its buildings or its projects, but how it treats its citizens. And today we ask you to do the right thing for our community and our home. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Tellez. Madam Clerk, we'll now go to the group items.
An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development and to establish a planned development residential titled Mays PDR located at 2524 South Pine Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development and to establish a planned commercial development titled Lots 3A and 3B, The Divide, PCD, located at the northwest corner of Cantrell Road and the Divide Parkway, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to amend Little Rock, Arkansas Ordinance Number 22,180, October 18, 2022, the Master Street Plan, to remove the proposed westward extension of Capitol Hill Boulevard, a minor arterial street, from the Master Street Plan and for other purposes. An ordinance to authorize the demolition of 10 residential structures severely dilapidated, causing a life safety hazard and negative environmental impacts, to appropriate funds to pay for such demolition and for other purposes. An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid, to authorize the city manager to enter into a sole source contract to renew services with Leads Online LLC in an amount not to exceed $68,547 plus applicable taxes and fees for the integration of the RMS record system and the real-time crime center at the Little Rock Police Department and for other purposes. First reading.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Second reading.
An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development to establish a planned development residential titled Mays PDR located at 2524 South Pine Street. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development to establish a planned commercial development titled Lots 3A and 3B, The Divide, PCD, located at the northwest corner of Cantrell Road and the Divide Parkway. An ordinance to amend Little Rock, Arkansas Ordinance Number 22,180, October 18, 2022, the Master Street Plan, to remove the proposed westward extension of Capitol Hill Boulevard, a minor arterial street, from the Master Street Plan. An ordinance to authorize the demolition of 10 residential structures severely dilapidated, causing a life safety hazard and negative environmental impacts, to appropriate funds to pay for such demolition and for other purposes. An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid, to authorize the city manager to enter into a sole source contract to renew services with Leads Online LLC in an amount not to exceed $68,547 plus applicable taxes and fees for the integration of the RMS record system and the real-time crime center at the Little Rock Police Department and for other purposes. Second reading.
There's a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading.
An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development to establish a planned development residential titled Mays PDR located at 2524 South Pine Street. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development to establish a planned commercial development titled Lots 3A and 3B, The Divide, PCD, located at the northwest corner of Cantrell Road and the Divide Parkway. An ordinance to amend Little Rock, Arkansas ordinance number 22,180, October 18th, 2022, the master street plan to remove the proposed westward extension of Capitol Hill Boulevard, a minor arterial street, from the master street plan. An ordinance to authorize the demolition of 10 residential structures severely dilapidated, causing a life safety hazard and negative environmental impacts, to appropriate funds to pay for such demolition and for other purposes. An ordinance to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid, to authorize the city manager to enter into a sole source contract to renew services with Leads Online LLC in an amount not to exceed $68,547 plus applicable taxes and fees for the integration of the RMS record system in the real-time crime center at the Little Rock Police Department and for other purposes. Third and final reading.
Members of the board, we've had 3 readings before we take a vote. Mr. Joe White, if you'll just share some additions that have already been noted, but we want to make certain everyone's aware to item number 13.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. After we had a meeting with the neighbors, we agreed to eliminate 7 items from the 01 zoning, and I don't think it quite made it in the ordinance, but we've gone back and forth with staff, and I think it's on the record.
Yes. Just thank you.
We need to read them into the record so that the one that you sign will have them listed.
If you'll read it into the record.
You want me to do it?
Yes.
It's item D, day nursery or daycare center. E, daycare center adult. F, establishment of a religious, charitable, and philanthropic organization. T, mobile canteen units. F, community, welfare, or health center. H, establishment of for care of alcoholic, narcotic, and psychiatric patients. And the last one is L, nursing home or convalescent home.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
It'll be added to the record.
Before you vote, you need to amend the ordinance to include those items.
Is there a motion for that amendment?
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. It's now been added as an amendment.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, if you'll read resolution item number 20.
Mayor, just to clarify on the record, the vote was for all of the ordinances, not just the one that was amended.
Correct.
A resolution to establish conditions to be met before the City of Little Rock, Arkansas will provide funds to the Metropolitan Housing Alliance in 2025 and for other purposes.
All right, we have several cards. Miss Donna Massey. Downstairs. We'll wait for her. While we wait for her, we'll go to Mr. Malik Blackman. After Mr. Malik, I'll answer it.
Yes, thank you, sir. My name is Malik Blackman, and I'm a resident of Madison Heights. You know, I believe in a healthy Arkansas, in a city that cares for its minorities, its seniors, its disabled, and those who may be challenged in other areas. However, this is a great opportunity for the city of Little Rock to improve their vision for Madison Heights and to continue to keep Little Rock citizens housed. Your vote for yes will affirm your commitment to keep Little Rock citizens in the places that we call home. Thank you.
I see Miss, she's not, do I see Miss Massey? I don't see, oh. Before we wait on Miss Massey, we'll, Director Adcock.
Conditions to be met before the City of Little Rock. What are the conditions? Because this does not list the conditions. So I'm not for sure if people are wanting us to vote yes or no, because if without a list of the conditions, how do we know what we're voting for?
Yes, ma'am. The list of conditions are the conditions that the city attorney drafted and shared with the city board 3 weeks ago at the last meeting when we were going to vote, and then we took another week. It's all of what the city attorney shared.
But Mayor, What I'm talking about is the people out here, the gentleman that just came up here and spoke, he doesn't know if he wants me to vote yes or no, because he doesn't know what these conditions are. So, Mr. Carpenter, are you going to read the conditions so people will know what we're voting on?
I will. I'll be happy to do so. Um, and I will start off by saying that the first condition that's listed is really no longer recommended, as I said to y'all last week. The first one is all entities with any claim against MHA which may be resolved by action to foreclose MH1, Madison Heights 1 or Madison Heights 2 shall provide a written release to the city in a form acceptable to the city attorney, that upon the provision of funds to MHA, these entities will provide a written satisfaction of interest against MHA to the city, which shall be filed of record in the real estate records of Pulaski County, Arkansas. 2, HUD, on behalf of itself and the United States of America, will provide written certification in a form acceptable to the city attorney, which states that any interest it has or had in Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2 are rendered null and void and will be quitclaimed to the city upon the provision of city funds that will cancel any outstanding debts or claims against Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2, which shall be filed of record in the real estate records of Pulaski County, Arkansas. 3, the state of Arkansas, through the appropriate entity, will provide a written certification in a form acceptable to the city attorney, which states that any interest it has or had in Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2 are rendered null and void and will be quitclaimed to the city upon the provision of city funds that will cancel any outstanding debts or claims against Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2, which shall be filed of record in the real estate records of Pulaski County, Arkansas. 4, any joint venture that works with the Municipal Housing Alliance or the Central Arkansas Housing Corporation, which has any interest in Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2, shall deed all right, title, and interest to these properties to the Municipal Housing Alliance in a form acceptable to the city attorney prior to any disbursement by the city, and which shall be filed of record in the real estate records of Pulaski County, Arkansas. 5, any interest Central Arkansas Housing Corporation has in Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2 shall deed all right, title, and interest to these properties to the Municipal Housing Alliance in a form acceptable to the city attorney prior to any disbursement by the city, and which shall be filed of record in the real estate records of Pulaski County, Arkansas. 6, the Municipal Housing Alliance shall execute any document in a form acceptable to the city attorney which establishes that Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2 are collateral for a loan or security for a debt to the city for the disbursement of funds to the Municipal Housing Alliance pursuant to this resolution. 7, any entity, including governmental entities, shall execute a release of any interest it has or may have or arguably may have in the property known as Madison Heights 1 or Madison Heights 2, which acknowledges and agrees to the conditions set forth in this resolution. 8, Madison Heights, the Municipal Housing Alliance shall provide to the city prior to the disbursement of any funds audited financial records which establish how the monies provided by a loan from the city shall be repaid, which is found acceptable by the city attorney and the city finance director. And then 9, which has several subparts, during the period of any outstanding loan from the city, the Municipal Housing Alliance shall be responsible for all of the following as to Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2. A, insurance of property at Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2. B, operation and management of the rentals at Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2 in a manner that assures the repayment in full of all sums due to the city as a result of this loan. C, indemnity by the Municipal Housing Alliance of any claim of any nature whatsoever, included but not limited to fees and costs, penalties and interest, successfully brought against the Municipal Housing Alliance because of the properties at Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2. D, access to the city at any reasonable time to the inspection of all books, records, certified audit reports, and other documents that pertain to Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2 while any portion of the loan is outstanding on those properties. And 5, the right to refuse any action before it is formally agreed upon of the Municipal Housing Alliance as to Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2, which could create a colorable or recognized claim against the properties. 6, the failure to timely pay any amount of taxes, contracts, insurance, or any other expense associated with the operation and management of Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2 by the Municipal Housing Alliance as a default. And then the last one is placement in escrow by the Municipal Housing Alliance with an agent acceptable to the city, a fee simple title of Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2, as established by the complete title search of the property for Madison Heights 1 and Madison Heights 2, so that any failure at any time of the Municipal Housing Alliance to follow each and every condition set forth in this resolution, which upon notice of any failure of the Municipal Housing Alliance to comply with any provision of this resolution, would result in the delivery of the warranty deeds to the city to be filed of record in the real estate records of Pulaski County, Arkansas. And then the last one is that the city obtains an opinion from qualified legal counsel that pursuant to Arkansas law, the city is able to enter into such a loan agreement with the Municipal Housing Alliance.
Mr. Carpenter, the people here tonight, the residents here from Madison Heights are here to listen to two things, for us to either say yes or for us to say no. You have read all that, and this board probably has read that, but it has not been available to these people. So the people who are here to hear a yes, will they be hearing a yes tonight to what you read, or will it be a no? They want Madison Heights to remain open the way it is. They want to be able to continue to live there. They want to be able to go back home tonight knowing that we voted yes to continue or no to change. So can you tell me if I'm to vote yes tonight or to vote no tonight?
Director Adcock, that's a difficult question for me. And the reason it's a difficult question is the point I mentioned last Tuesday. In the conversations that I've had with Mr. Brian Gage at HUD, who is, I think, he's a regional something in Oklahoma City, and Mr. Sarpy, the thrust of these resolution requirements were that the city would get a title, a fee simple title, which is the highest you can get, via a warranty deed, which is the best you can get, that would be held in escrow so that if there were any kind of default in the repayment of the monies, if the city made the loan, then the city would have title to these properties. We wouldn't go through foreclosure. There would be waivers of any type of action for that.
I'm sorry interrupting you, but you're going back on all the legal things.
Well,
You know
it's
my
the major
heart.
one.
You know my heart. You know I'm the liaison to MHA. You know what I would be voting. So tell me, am I going to vote a yes or no? So when we vote, these people sitting out here will know exactly what we're voting on.
Director Adcock.
It's not a difficult question, Mayor.
Oh, I'm not. You didn't ask me the question. I'm just trying to help. I'm trying to help facilitate the process so everybody knows what I'm here. The city attorney does not desire to tell you how to vote. However, what he's sharing with this, for everybody, the real vote, each 20 matters, 21 matters, but what really matters is 22. So item number 20 sets the legal pathway to provide funds to save Madison Heights. And so the attorney's condition is papering the file to make certain that the city of Little Rock, we're protected in the event that Madison Heights MHA defaults on our loan to them. That is item 20. So we got a first, now Ms. Bumblebee, I know you already signed up, but we're gonna get to you. Oh, I know you're not, I understand. Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. So that's item 20. That starts the paperwork, the loan documents. Item 21 says, okay, the city says yes to these conditions, but we got to put it in writing, and we're going to hire an attorney because our attorney is very busy, and this is going to take some meticulous efforts. He can do it himself because he's done a lot of work. But it says that we're going to hire an attorney to draft in 21 Friday firm to serve as bond counsel for the short-term note, because we'll leverage short-term financing to provide the $6 million to Madison Heights. That's item 21. Item 22 shares is some different short-term financing that we have to do from Amendment 78. So 21 and 22, that's really deals with the money. So to save Madison Heights, there has to be a yes vote on 20, a yes vote on 21, and a yes vote on 22. The city board can vote all yes on 20, but if they vote no on 21 and 22, it creates some uncertain times for Madison Heights. No, ma'am, we'll come. I'm waiting on you. Well, I'll get to you. So, Director Adcock, I know you.
Okay, let me answer for Mr. Carpenter, because I will be voting yes on all three of these.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Carpenter, does that help?
All right.
What I'm supposed to tell you to do.
Miss Massey, we'll now come to Miss Massey. Miss Massey. Tom, she just wanted you to say yes. That's all she really wants you to say.
I'd like to be told yes, Tom.
Good evening to everyone, to the mayor, and to all of our city directors. I am Donna Massey. I chair Arkansas Community Organizations, and I serve on the Pulaski County Quorum Court. My purpose here tonight is twofold. I'm here as a concerned citizen and as an advocate for Madison Heights. I'm also here as a property owner. In regards to being a property owner, there are 5 things that could happen in our community if this goes into foreclosure and the residents have to move out. The building becomes vacant, then our property value will possibly decrease, increase crime rates in the community, higher public service costs for the city to have to keep up the property, cutting the lawn and things of that nature, possibly a health hazard by mold and all of those type things if it becomes vacant and is vacant for a long time. And then community blight. We have enough of that in the 12th Street corridor, where the vacant building, no one's going to want to come in. So we don't want to see that happen. Not only that, the residents, if they have to move, a lot of them are probably on Medicaid. There are being cuts to Medicaid, there's being cuts to HUD. Where are these individuals, some of them, where are they going to go? There's being cuts to SNAP, so you are affecting a lot of people that are in desperate need of this housing. And I'm asking you all tonight to please vote yes on all 3, 20, 21, and 22. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Curris? Ms. Williams? Ms. Williams, thank you.
Good evening. Mr. Stodel is unable to be here tonight due to a medical emergency in his family. So he made me promise to show up to answer any questions you might have. And I want to say a couple of little things too, maybe to reassure everybody here. When a lender makes a loan, before they ever give you the money, they commit to make the loan, but it's always subject to conditions. If you buy a house, you get a loan commitment from a bank and they say, yes, we'll lend you the money, but part of the deal is going to be, we're going to get a first lien on your home. That's kind of what Mr. Carpenter was getting around to. Took him a lot more words than maybe. And only one condition I think is going to be difficult to meet, and that is HUD has a trust instrument that relates to this property that requires a certain number of those units to be public housing. That's a good thing. So if HUD will not release that, I don't think you would want them to. And I just bring that up because I think you need a little bit of flexibility in this process, because there's 2 other little things I want to say very quickly. There's a certain thing called deal fatigue. When you have a transaction that's complex and it changes, you get to a point in that process where everybody's tired, everybody's a little sick of the deal, and you don't know what to do. You don't know to vote yes or no, you're just really tired.
The other side of that very same coin is sometimes when you hear about a transaction at the very initial moments, you're very excited and want to do it. But then the deal changes. And some people can't get away from chasing deals. So all I'm asking you to do tonight, because I respect every one of you, is take a fresh look at this. Take a fresh look at what this thing is tonight. Don't be fatigued by all the process it took us to get here, but take an honest and fresh look. And don't chase the deal either. This is not the same thing that was proposed when I first stood up here, $7.5 million and all that other stuff. So I would encourage you to do this. I think if it's done properly and structured correctly, the city will have a lien on a property that appraised by your own number at over $18 million. You're also going to have escrowed money, I think. And then you've got approximately 1,000 people that live in Madison Heights 1, 2, and 3. That's 1/2 of the city's population. I think if you can make a transaction safe and sound with good counsel as you have, and you reduce the risk very, very minimal risk, and approximately 1,000 people get to stay where they live, that is good for our city and good for the people that live there. And I think that's the most important point.
Before we go out, just because I cut in and let Director Adcock cut in and let Director Hines, and then we'll get back to going straight to Director Hines.
Yes, Tom, so because this all gets into legalities and foreclosure, pretty cut and simple when you've got a single-family home that you get foreclosed on. The foreclosure goes through, and then you'll get a notice to evict, and the county sheriff will show up and show you the door if you haven't moved all your stuff out. In the case where we have a property that's essentially a commercial property that's rental, if this property is foreclosed on, if people that are in market rate housing that have a valid lease, people that have vouchers through our housing authority have a valid lease, and then the trust specified subsidized or straight subsidy, how does the court and a foreclosure process view those issues? And I guess the simple question is, if this property is foreclosed on, if people have a valid lease, they're taking vouchers and they have a valid lease, and the straight subsidy because of the trust, can the new owner kick them out and put them on the street?
The initial answer to that is not immediately. The leases that are in effect at the moment are in effect until 12/31 of this year. So the owner would take subject to those leases. In addition, there are trust agreements there, so the amount of the subsidized housing that's in place will remain in place. And I don't know the exact year because there's two of them. One, it was going to be 2026 and one's going to be 2029. But in addition to that, and I don't know if the lenders know this, and I've been told that they do, and I've been told that they don't, so I'm going to assume they don't. Because money has been provided by the federal government to the Municipal Housing Alliance, then there's an additional 10 years that they will have to be operated in that fashion. Now, as to the market rate rentals, I mean, we learned last week that they're already looking at the concept of moving that rent to 100% and 20% of what it is now in order to be able to get the repayments that are necessary to deal with these issues. If it goes to a private developer, I don't really know. That's one of the things that I cautioned the board about last week about pursuing the program that HUD has, which is called the Property Solution Panel, to find out the answers to those questions.
So, according to your conversations with HUD, there are still other levers that haven't been explored with HUD to possibly bail this property out?
They have not. Dr. Jarman has made efforts and has been able to get a hold of a person at HUD that deals with these panels. She did that today, and I think it's fair to say she didn't think she was going to today, and then she found out anyway. They've sent us some materials, or sent her some materials, which she has shared with us. And it deals with how these panels are set up. Now, the panels, as there were 46 pages, and I tried to read through them, and as I understand it, under the best of circumstances, you're looking at 3 to 6 months before you're going to get any kind of resolution. That means that because of the August 1 trial date, this would be dependent upon having some very serious conversations with the lender and say, you've got your August date hearing, and if you want to be a housing authority for 10 more years for at least some or all of these properties, you know, you can just say goodbye and we'll go on our own way. If, on the other hand, you'd like to get repaid in full and get something now, then this panel may give us a way to try to do that. There is an entity that is interested in helping the Municipal Housing Alliance with this entire matter. They're not going to be able to get everything done by August the 1st. They won't be able to get some of the important aspects of this done in 2025 because it deals with various credits, as I understand it, that won't be available again until 2026.
Okay. So last question. So all of these items before us tonight, the only reason we're having to consider them now is the state statute that requires us, if we're going to try to use short-term financing to purchase this property, correct?
Well, yes, I mean, I think we've tried to rewrite the ordinances so that you can use short-term financing if that's available, but if you're going to use that, you've got to buy something. And the amount that the city's talking about is 300% less than the appraised value of the two buildings in their worst state. So that looks like overreaching and may be challenged in and of itself. There had been discussions before about buying what is now the office for the Metropolitan Housing Alliance, and the amount would be closer to that, but there were some concerns raised as to, is that a good idea or not?
Right.
So short-term financing is available if and only if we're going to buy something.
Right. If, otherwise we'd have to dip into reserve funds, which we can do at will with action on this board.
The board has the authority.
We could do it the week before August 1st.
Right. You could do it the week after August 1st.
Right. The other question that I was driving at, that's good for now. I'll come back to it. I'm sure we'll have further discussion.
And Ms. Barbara Anthony. After Ms. Anthony will be Kathy Wells. And after Ms. Wells will be Ms. Daphne Williams.
As I said, the last Tuesday I was here, my name is Barbara Anthony Jones. I have been in Madison Heights for over 20 years. It was a gorgeous place, can still be. All we need is the proper management. People who will be trustworthy. We don't even have people that would do maintenance work there because they're not getting paid. They have the funds, they're given funds, but what do? Make fun of us. They do not do as they should. This place is where lots of people stay. I'm staying there due to my income and because of a wreck from 20 years ago. Or I wouldn't be there, I would be in a home probably. But lots of people need places where they could call home due to low income. Even people who work stay out there in different sections. But I'm out there, it must be for a reason. Because when I sit on my front, I see people going to work, I see people when they're coming back, I see people who are not. But we are in need of you all who are getting paid to do so because you were elected to do so to help people of this retirement state, as I call it. That's why I'm here, because my mother brought me here for her retirement state,
Yes,
even
ma'am.
though I called it other states.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Kathy Wells.
Good evening, Mayor, City Directors. I'm Kathy Wells. I'm President of the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods, and we support all efforts to remedy the urgent shortage of housing, and particularly affordable housing. This has gotten to be very complex, obviously, and we respect all of the players who need to be heard and their needs satisfied. But I would put to you another condition which covers all. We have already fully engaged with this advocacy Baker Curris, who has been an advocate on the civic scene for decades and a shining ornament to this community, let me add. Add a condition, you're going to rely on Baker Curris, and then you rely on Baker Curris. Thank you.
Ms. Daphne Williams.
Good evening, Directors and Mayor Scott.
Good evening.
Yes, my name is Daphne Williams, and I'm a 10-year resident of Madison Heights. And I'm up here today to ask you all, would you please vote, because this place is home to a lot of people that, in otherwise, cannot afford to live anywhere else. Because I don't have to tell you how high rent is, as well as utilities. It gives people a opportunity to be able to afford some of the things that they can, in other words, would be able to afford. Like, you got elderly people out there that don't have transportation. It's pretty central located to the bus stop. I mean, we are in a desert where we don't have a grocery store or anything so you have people that have to catch the bus, and which is maybe convenient to get them to Walmart or wherever they're trying to go get groceries. You got elderly people out there that have no family, or some that don't maybe have families that's not, able to help them, to give them anywhere to stay if they, they lose their place to go. And so I'm just asking the board that if you all consider, vote yes, because it means so much to a lot of people that this is their home, and with sky high rent, in order to relocate and move somewhere else, it would be very difficult, financial wise. Of course, we do have a lot of people that do work, but nowadays you have people that working 2 jobs just to even make rent, some places, and this place afford people to be able to at least have somewhere they can call home. And I mean, there's elderly people I've seen on the bus stop, and like I said, centrally located to the hospitals and clinics and everything for them. So I just hope that you all consider a yes vote.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Ms. Velda Austin.
Hello, City. My name is Velda Austin, and I'm a tenant at Madison Heights. I've lived in Madison Heights for 20-plus years. I moved out there when it was newly built. No one has never lived in my apartment but me, and I love it. And I'm hoping that you all will give us a yes vote because, like Ms. Daphne just said, rent is high, and some people can't afford to go anywhere else. And also, I want to add, if you don't give us a yes vote, would you be willing to help with placement? Because, there are some families and elderly out there, they don't have other people that can help them. And you be putting them out on the street, they won't have nowhere to go. So I'm hoping and praying that you all will consider keeping Madison Heights for us because, like I said, I've been there my children were in elementary when I moved in there. And now they're grown, and I'm still there, and I love it. I love my home, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have been there. But I thank you for this time.
Thank you so much. Ms. Megan Lynn Mangrum.
Okay, hi everybody. All right. Most important And last meeting, here we are, all hopeful in what we think we want or need, taking a vote as if the Lord didn't have the day planned out already. We stand before you with a little more strength today, and we stand before you united as we've done all along. We can only ask or plead so many times. I don't have or know the words that need to be spoken today. The only thing I know, and I've said it before, is right and wrong is wrong. Let's see. I hear a lot of, Madison Heights used to be this, used to be that, and I get it, guys. I get it. Madison Heights used to probably be amazing way before my time. I've only been there 4 years. But Madison Heights, we have to focus on like in the future now and not like how it used to be, because it's never going to be that way. Once something is, it changes, and we just got to pick up our trash or do whatever we can to help each other. And I'm just as guilty as everybody else. But I attended a meeting at a church, which was politically based. And I mean, I guess if you want to schedule me somebody to talk to about that, but I don't feel comfortable talking about it in private, because this is saving our home and people are trying to scooch politics in it. And that's just not how it works whenever you live somewhere for 4 years. Like I said, I've grown here. My time. I've grown here. I've did so many things here. We're just frustrated because we don't understand. Like, if it was you guys' home, I swear, like in my heart, I would be like, man, here's my help. But it's just different, whenever the shoe's on your foot, you got to really take into consideration what's right and what's wrong. And I'll leave it at that. Oh, one more thing. This does not pertain to Madison Heights. However, I have another issue. My friend was walking on her way to work when 2 dogs ran across her path. No collar, no leash, dragging. She ignored them and kept going until a man came running out of his house cursing about her walking down this street. I believe this street is 12th and Acorn or something. It was a white red-nosed pit bull. Anyway, they're not keeping their animals locked up around 12th Street, and people got to work at like 5:30. Maybe they want to take a walk because it's easier, and maybe it'll take 30 minutes. They don't need to be scared that a dog is going to attack them on a public street. Now that's a little strange, but anyway, that's all I got for you. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Ms. Lynn Brewer.
Hello. I just want to say I've been at Madison Heights for 12 and a half years. And yes, it was very beautiful. It took me 6 months to even get in. Background check, come into my home, see how I live. It's the management that we have at the property. When they say they're coming to do inspections, nobody gets inspected. They need to do surprise inspections. Then there'll be a big difference. There are people out there that love their home, that take good care of their home, but there's also people out there that take advantage of it. So we have to come together. I would greatly appreciate y'all to help us, because we were completely funded for our homes to be made over. I packed up my kitchen. I was told, I live in Madison Heights 2. I was told to pack up my kitchen, my living room. We're going to put you in a pod, your things in a pod. You're either going to go to another townhome that's available, or you're going to go to a hotel. Once your home is finished, you're allowed to come back to your townhome, or you can pick another one. But that's not what happened. The money got taken. And then it comes back on the residents. Now we're having to pay a water bill. Now our meters are even cut out. We don't have the lawn people like we used to. We don't even have the police officers, Thursday through Sunday, 6 to 6, that used to protect us. We have people that climb the fence from 12th Street, from Pickpack all the way down. It's dangerous. We do need your help, Mayor. I emailed you personally. I voted for you because I remember what you told me. Well, not told me, but told the people of Little Rock. not me personally, but you said that if I have to walk 12th Street, Woodrow, Roosevelt, any of the bad neighborhoods myself to get crime under control, that's what you would do. And that's why I voted for you, because I was like, this man means business.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would greatly appreciate help from y'all. And I thank you for caring about us, because there are a lot of us that do love our home out there. And we do pay a lot. Not everybody's on housing. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And I do support it.
Thank you. And don't forget the police. We want our officers back out there,
Now,
please.
I'll be honest with you, Madison Heights, the property management, they were paying for off-duty police, but we'll work on getting some patrol out there. Well,
And not only that, let me say this. I'm a good speaker, aren't I? Yeah, okay. So we have Family Dollar, yes, we do. We don't have churches anymore. We have a little convenience store. But it would be nice to reopen that grocery store back up. You know that empty grocery store down the way
yes, ma'am.
that you see vacant?
And Director Webb and I and others are working on that.
Oh, that would be a blessing.
We're working on a solution. We don't know what the solution is, but we are
Well, I
working
will
on
help
it.
you.
All
Put
right.
me on there.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Johnny Miller.
Okay, did I do good?
You did good. You did good. Mr. Miller? Johnny, you gonna speak again? Okay, all right.
Actually, I wanted to speak on the, just ask about the ordinance of the 10 vacant dilapidated homes.
Well, you're on the wrong, that's not what we're talking about. We'll come back
Yes.
to you.
Oh, thank you, sir.
All right. Ms. Bumblebee?
I'm not gonna show up.
Well, normally when you say you're not gonna do something.
My word is my bond.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Y'all can't tell we know each other, right? Y'all can't tell.
Good evening to everyone. I don't need to do much talking now because you all have heard from both sides. And as you know, and know very well, that you all didn't have nothing to do with what has happened to Madison Heights, and neither did the tenants have anything to do with what happened to Madison Heights. But we, the tenants, need your help to help us to get back on our feet. We're not people that is just asking for handouts. These are proud people that live there and that have lived there. There's grandmothers, grandfathers, there's veterans. This is a community, this is a family. If you help us, we can show that we are the families that you want to have in your community. We used to be the ideal place to be. We will be the ideal place to be again. But we have to have help, because all we have been having for the last 10 years, maybe not that long, but however, we've been getting beat down. Our morals, our respect, the housing, whatever we needed there was misused. So, like I'm saying, I'm not gonna take up much time, but me, and most of these people here most of everybody is voting citizens. We need your help to just stand up. We're not asking you to take care of us. You just need a hand up, not a handout, because we are people that is working. There's a working class people at Madison Heights. There's retired people that lives in Madison Heights. We're trying to teach our children. We have a lady back here, her children needs help. She needs help with family things. That's what we can do at Madison Heights. Please, again, consider this is human beings, families, educators, because my daughter went to school. I paid for her to be
in school over there at Mount St. Mary's. I lived in Madison Heights. And I'm very proud of being there. And I love it there then. I love it there now. And I would love to be there to help. I'm not asking y'all to just do something. We can help ourselves and show you all what we can do if we can get some help. Thank you all so very much. Think about the yes vote, save Madison Heights. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Bumblebee. Mrs. Donna Rayford Graves.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Scott, and the board members. She actually kind of took my thunder, but I am here as a friend, family member, former neighbor of a lot of the people in Madison Heights and the surrounding community, that community as a whole. I grew up right at 14th and Adams a number of years ago, we'll just say that. And I just wanted to say that I hope that you will vote for the residents. Think about what's best for the residents of Madison Heights and the residents who own homes and also rent homes in and around that area. My mother was a longtime renter in that area when I was growing up, but she's also a retired state employee. My uncle is a retired employee of St. Vincent Hospital and now resides in Madison. My aunt worked for Baptist Hospital and resided in the community. I have cousins who live in the community, and I have neighbors who watched me grow up, and I can still go to their homes and have a little bite to eat on a Sunday and just hang out. So I really hope that you will consider the residents and what is best for them. And it's not just a matter of that particular property, but it's the matter of a community and a neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Director Hines.
Thanks. Tom, the resolution 20, has anybody on the MHA Board of Directors been given that resolution?
I'm gonna have to look.
You mean the statement of conditions? That was all shared 3 weeks ago while they were all present. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that. Thank you.
Director Webb.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. I have a couple of questions, and one is that we were handed this letter right before we got here, and I mean, I see who it's from, but is there somebody who can explain what's in the letter to us?
What I read is that, Director Pierce probably, you want to talk? Press it. Director Pierce.
In my multiple questions, I have asked both the state and the federal government and HUD to get involved. And I got, driving down here, a note from Representative Hill's office that he has apparently gotten the questions and this is what he's doing to respond to that. And I didn't want to just read it. I wanted everybody to have it. And so I got Ashley to print it up, and that's the reason I gave it to everybody.
And he's made it public. I'm told it's been a press release on it, so it's public. It's not just us aware of it right now.
Okay, then can I ask a couple of follow-ups to that?
Yes, ma'am.
When Mr. Carpenter was talking, I think I understood him to say that there was potentially another entity that would be interested or could participate in this effort?
Director Webb, several years ago when this is what I can tell actually started coming to a head, there was a company that was doing some management work with MHA that was interested in helping MHA get through the two big payments that they needed to make for which they borrowed the money. And in exchange for that, they would get certain contractual rights for all of the MHA properties. It got very close to being a consummated agreement. I think the state was involved in helping with some tax credits, and then at the last minute, it fell apart. I don't know why it fell apart, but that company is still interested in moving back and working with them. Dr. Jarman can tell you more about that than I can. I don't know if you want to ask her, and I hate to volunteer her, but.
And I'll try to give a more simplified answer, Director. Well, two things. Dr. Jarman reached out, City Attorney, Dr. Jarman, if you come here, yeah, just be easier this way. And I'm just going to kind of direct some things so we can get to a vote.
Mayor, I apologize if I got out of term by referencing her.
No, not at all, not at all. Dr. Jarman, you reached out in regards to the city attorney, just say yes or no. City attorney in regards to the PSP panel as one of the options.
I did, yes, sir.
And they shared with you, my understanding is that it would not have any type of resolution, if there is a resolution, by the time period. Is that correct?
Oh, definitely not by August 1st, no.
You also reached out to ADVA.
Yes.
What did ADVA say?
ADVA said go to our website and look for some funding, and you can make application for funding through their regular, regular allocations.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help, Director Webb? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Director Webb, you.
Is that it?
One time. Yes, don't touch no one.
About that we do have other options if we don't do something today. But my other question is, somebody explained, and I don't remember who it was, but it was somebody who explained that, in fact, people would not be made to leave.
Yeah, so,
Could I get the detailed
The
clarification of that?
right, so the detail is, once the foreclosure happened, those who have a current lease, that lease will stand at least until December 31st. The term of their lease. But after that, yeah, so.
I'm sorry, and because both of y'all were talking and
Oh,
I couldn't hear.
who
I
was
don't know if
talking? Oh.
Director Lance was, or Director Hines was saying the same thing or not.
Yeah, so we were saying the same thing. The answer is there are certain members, they all have different leases, but once it's in foreclosure, the owner of the foreclosure, that process can then create uncertainty for those residents once their leases are up.
6 months from now.
So for some, it could be 3 months. From others, it could be 4. I mean, they all have different leases. So it'll be uncertainty for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Director Computers?
This is a confusing issue. Tom, in one of the things that you and Mr. Sarpy put out, about a third of the apartments in there have been taking HUD money and will be extended for at least 10 years. Is that not right?
That's what I understand, yes.
And the question still is out, whether the remaining apartments will still be under that stipulation.
Right. I think what I understood Mr. Gage to say is that they could still be market rate rentals, but I don't know if that has any kind of an income impact to it at all, and that's something that this panel would work on.
Well, here's my problem with number 20. The end of number 20 is that the city is either financing or owns an apartment complex. Is that not right?
Yes.
And we then take money probably from investment money or from reserve funds to do this. Is that not right, Mr. Sarpy?
Well, let me answer for that before Ms. Sarpy can come. But this city board, I want to be clear because I don't want us to forget what you all have already indicated to me. This city board said that you all did not want to use reserve funds quite frankly, Director Adcock, and I was going to share this later, shared that the reserve, as you know, we have our contingency funds that we have to have by law. We have self-imposed contingency of $13.1 million that we have right now that we touch for disasters. And then we have the other emergency funds that we've used to purchase garbage trucks and things of that nature. And Director Adcock, as early as yesterday, said, where is my ordinance for my fire trucks? Which, and there's an ordinance that's going to be scheduled on June 17th for you all to vote on that has the fire trucks and the micro home village, all these other things you all have shared. So we haven't even contemplated those funds because you all have already said you wanted to use those funds for that. So the only thing we have available is a short-term note, and or we can do fund balance, which is essentially any cash we may have over a month that may be a little earlier, but that's very convoluted. We can discuss that too, but that creates some other financial issues. But there is a reserve fund that we can tap into. But Director Peck, I think you don't want to tap into that, right? Okay, Director Adcock, you don't want to tap into that, right? You would? Okay, well, I don't think y'all will be on one accord on that based on what you all told me. So this is what's available as the short-term note. And Director Peck is shaking her head, yes.
So tell me how a short-term note works on this.
We would have to acquire property.
And so that we would then be the owner of a property.
Yes.
An apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
That we would be running a complex.
Whether or not we'd run it would be a different matter up for this board's discretion as far as whether or not the city would be the manager operator of it or would contract out to do that service. And
we would use short-term financing, in your opinion, to do that.
That is our only option.
And that would take up how much money each year for that 5-year period of time?
It's about 1.6 or so million at $6 million.
Unlike Joan, we very rarely are different, but I'm going to vote against this because I didn't get on this board to run an apartment complex. And the next time someone comes from Paris Towers, that Dr. Garman told me a week ago that we had no part of, and we do, the Metropolitan Highway Alliance. And then I got a thing saying that we had another one of the Metropolitan Highway Alliances or their subsidiary that was going to go into receivership if we didn't get another member on there. And I think it's a very insidious situation. And I don't know how we tell everybody that was in Big Country Chateau all these years we couldn't help when they have a voucher, or the lady from Paris Towers who came and said the elevators doesn't work, or any of those other people, how we're going to take $7 million and take out of our budget each year almost $2 million, how in good faith we can do that. The second point I will make is that everybody here thinks that they're going to be on the street in January. And basically, I think that no one's going to be on the street, or very few are going to be on the street, because whether we do this or the people that have the loan on this, they're going to have to go back and increase the rental rate to 120%. Is that not right?
So that is what has been discussed by MHA, and most likely that's what the lender would do as well.
So everybody here who thinks their rental rate's going to stay the same, it's not. It's going to go up in order to make this cash flow, whoever has it. True? Is that not right?
I think it's going to depend on which unit you're in as far as whether the rates would change for the individual person.
Right. I mean, there's some people that will have a voucher that the rate will go up, but the amount the government pays will take that delta. Correct?
Correct.
But for the other people in here who are paying, will be paying more in order to make this cash flow. Secondly, it puts us in a really hard position, or puts me in a hard position on how I'm going to say to anybody else in any of these other properties that come in here and say, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, any of these things, that we do this. And I don't think it's the right thing to do. And as you told me many times when I've asked you about this, and you're great at saying this, you don't say yes or no. You say, if you do this, you're going to have to make hard decisions in December. And I think that if you say that right now, we've already promised the police and fire 4%, correct? 5%. And if our growth over this year is what, 3%?
Mm-hmm.
That we've already got a cash flow problem. And I can't in good conscience do this not knowing if we can buy a fire truck or anything else. And I can't in good conscience sit here and have scare tactics used on all these people that they're going to be put out on the street, because I don't think that's going to happen. And I really think when HUD gets in this, that we're going to find out that because they've taken HUD money for all these years, they're under that stipulation for 10 years. And I think it is crazy to give money to an organization that from 2018 to right now can't even have an audit of what they're doing. Now, they first told us the first time they have no information to do it, but now they say they're going to be able to do it. So if the end result of 20 is us owning an apartment complex and knowing there's other multiple problems out there, and knowing that I don't think people are going to be put out on the street, and this is still going to be housing that's going to be affordable. Now, it's going to be at 120% for everybody in there, and most of it will be paid for everybody else. I can't vote for this. I can't in good conscience do this. And that's my problem with this.
Director Miller.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks for all these folks who are working on this issue. Let me make sure I understand that initially they were asking for 7.5 million, and now it's down to 6.
Yes.
So we've been making some progress to whittle down from 7.5 to 6.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think that's important. And of course, this is the Little Rock Housing Authority doing business as Metropolitan Housing Alliance, right? Is that the legal name of the entity? What is
It's the name of the entity, but it's a state agency.
It's a state agency. So what this...
Like the Little Rock Municipal Court is a state court.
Okay. So really sort of what this boils down to is, you know, we have a situation where it's a bailout, where we're trying to help this entity. Nothing different for me when I think about how the government bailed out the airline industry. Government wasn't in the airline industry. Government wasn't going to do that. The government bailed out the car industry. Government's not in the car industry. Government bailed them out and they got repaid. I see a way of repayment on this. I mean, what I have read, of course, the state, and after what I read is saying, look, you can apply for some money, but we only do new construction. We don't do any rehab. So I really think that's after's off the table. I don't think that's a viable option for us. Maybe it is. I don't think so, based on what I read. The Housing Authority, Metropolitan Housing Alliance, is trying to meet us as far as what they can. The assets that they're going to sell, which could amount to almost $2 million, is going to be put in escrow for the city to use. I mean, we're not giving them any money. We are loaning them some money. And the money that's going to be in escrow could pay the first note on a bullet note, if that's what we're talking about, a bullet a year for 5 years. And it gives this other entity that may be looking at trying to refinance them, take us out completely in 18, 24 months. I think this is certainly, as Ms. Bumblebee said, we didn't do this. The tenants didn't do this. But we can certainly help the situation. And I really believe, look, I'm a banker too now, so I look at a lot of numbers. I believe there is a way to get this thing paid. And the funds that are going to go into escrow, that's going to pay us for 1 year. That should, based on how this financing is set up. I understand the concerns. I really do. But this is a bailout. We're here to help. We're trying, please. We're trying to help our residents and help keep this property in the hands of the people that live there and call this place home. I support this. I'm going to vote yes on all three. Yeah. Just please, please. You know, and I am, Baker, I'm getting fatigued with all this and all this that I've read. I'm fatigued with this. All right. And like somebody said, everybody's fatigued on this. But there is a way I think we can help. It's unprecedented, maybe so. But we do unprecedented things from time to time. I'm not for using any reserve money. I'm for going out and getting a note, getting a short-term financing on this, like what we talked about. But I truly believe that we're not going to be in this property for 5 years. I think if there's another entity that looks at refinancing this, the property as is worth $18 million. We're talking about $6 million on an $18 million value. I think we're going to be in good shape. My banker hat says we're going to be in good shape. So I want my fellow board members to know, and the people certainly here, that I'm in favor of helping the residents and getting a note to loan to MHA. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Wyrick, then Director Hines.
Thank you. Mr. Carpenter,
Yes, ma'am.
first of all, this has been like, if you knew the answer to the question to start off with, you might not have so many questions. It's kind of unpeeled an onion for days and days and days. And Baker was on point whenever he was talking about the worrisome thoughts about all of this situation. Item 20, you had a list of demands that falls under this resolution. And there were other entities in those demands, or other entities that had to come forward in order to, for us to be whole. I think you had 3 or 4 pages of stuff that had to happen. And I know you talked about HUD, you talked about MHA. Do we have all the information that you requested, or you said that we needed to have in order to establish all the conditions for this property?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. So what is missing?
Well, in the first place, I need to know what the board's going to do, because if it's going to basically pay the outstanding lender's debt and not spend money to repair, then we don't need to be necessarily in a position where we automatically get title to the property if they don't pay us back. So, that's why I said there need to be some modifications. A lot of those things still need to be done, though. There's the statute that allows us to loan money to a housing authority starts out with, we shall pay their first year's operating administrative expenses. And then it says from time to time we can loan money to them. There is question as to whether this loan meets that definition. So that's a potential challenge, and that's the reason, one important reason I asked that you get an opinion from somebody, not us. If we're going to have the Friday firm, for example, is the short-term financing, they'd be ideal to look at this too. Other firms could look at that. We don't want to get into a situation where we're told we can't loan money because we got a constitution that basically says we can't loan money. There was an amendment to that constitution about 4 or 6 years ago that allows you to do it for economic development programs, but you've got to go through a number of steps that we haven't even started to even qualify for that. So that was there's some modifications that need to be made to that. In terms of if that's the route that the board chooses to take, obviously we're going to say, no, it does say we can loan it. We're going to do a loan. And I don't know what we're going to get as collateral. I mean, Mr. Curris was correct. I think we'd have what I heard Mr. Gage say, there's no way that HUD is going to give us or the lender or anybody a free ride for the next 11, 13 years, the 10 years plus what's left on the trust agreement. So I'm not sure that condition could even be met. I'm never going to say never because we haven't sat down and found out, but that is an issue that's kind of a concern. In terms of trying, which some of the provisions did in the resolution, of getting everything in one place so we don't have 2 or 3 other people out there that have an interest, the joint venture, CAHC or MHA, because we can't give money to CHAC.
Right.
We can only give money to MHA, and so I wrote it that strictly because I didn't want to give $5 million to MHA and then have them spend it on something else. Not that I think they would. I just don't get that luxury as the attorney. I had to do everything I could to nail down, no, they're going to have to do this and they're going to have the property and here it is. So that's why those are in there. But if ITech, this company is supposed to come in and help with them, they've got $2.5 million of potential tax credits that would be attractive to them that are not attractive to us. And so I didn't want to forego that possibility by how we approach this thing.
So let me ask you this question. So that's why I'm intrigued with. Do you have everything you need in order to vote on item 20 for us to establish that? And you mentioned an entity that came close, but then it fell apart, and you don't know what the situation was with that. Do you feel like that's still a possibility?
From everybody I've talked to, the answer is yes, and that includes as recently as the conversation Friday with Dr. Jarman. I know that Mr. Sarpy has talked to some people about this also, and he had a degree of comfort. Now, I'm not going to speak for him, but if Nick and Dr. Jarman say it's going to happen, I have an easier way of saying it sounds like a possibility.
Okay, so Baker called this a legal pathway. This item 20, and I call it your list of demands that have to come together. You don't have everything for that legal pathway to get there. In fact, you don't know what the pathway is.
I don't know exactly what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, you don't know what the pathway is. Okay, so just a second. I gotta think about what my question was. So we've got this entity that is possibly a positive situation. Everybody thinks they're still interested. So what is and Lance brought this up, what's our drop dead deadline for getting this resolved?
If we're going to use a short-term financing, we're at it. If we're going to get something in place before the August 1st court date, so that hopefully
August the 1st is the court date, right?
August 1st is the court date where the foreclosure at this juncture is going to proceed without challenge from MHA. That was the pledge they made in order to get the continuance from the date at the end of April. And Dr. Jarman's right, this panel that I mentioned to you all last Tuesday, we know it's going to take 3 to 6 or 6 to 9 months. We know that it's going to be 2026 before any entity could qualify for state tax credits to work this out. I want to caution that this PSP, and I've mentioned it several times,
Right.
if the lender says, now we're going to take it and we'll run it for 10 years as a housing authority, there's really no sense in even going through that process, because they've got a date, and after that date, they can bring about a sale of the properties. But if they sit back and think, do I really want to have HUD on my back for the next 10 years? Do I want to buy it for the appraised value, the 18.7 million, to get back my 5 million and hope I can turn it and make it profitable? You know, that's an issue. I have no idea how people decide, but that is an issue that they would have to face to avoid having HUD involved there.
Okay. I just see a light on the horizon that with this entity, and everybody's positive about it working, maybe we don't have to do what we're doing. So what's the drop dead date on the short-term financing?
It's, as Tom said, it's pretty much today. It's going to take us about, I mean, we're pretty much there. It's going to take about 60 days between advertisement to get any quotes from banks, as well as the 30-day protest period that is associated with short-term financing.
Okay. All right. Dean Compuras, he's very good with questions. There was a question that he asked in the last dissertation we got. It said, have HUD and state been directly contacted, including the governor and attorney general, and presented with our HUD issues and given what we are to vote on Tuesday for their comment and input? And it says HUD has directly been contacted regarding the proposed actions by the city. HUD's explicit comments were that they found it interesting that the city was proposing to use general fund revenues to support the project. HUD usually sees jurisdictions using CDBG dollars in these situations. That kind of made my eyebrow raise. And are we doing the wrong thing? I mean,
we don't have enough CDBG dollars.
I know we don't, but is HUD giving us a warning that we should not be using general fund revenues for this?
I don't think that's what Mr. Gage was saying. I think what he was saying is, you know, he was interested that the city was interested in doing what it can. He was astonished that it wasn't going to take federal money to take care of it. And it was about that time of the conversation he brought up this panel. I mean, that is supposed to be set up to help keep these types of properties from being foreclosed on.
So it didn't give you a warning that maybe we were doing something irregular?
No, not at all. He didn't imply that it was irregular. It just was not normal for what they, and usually the amounts are not $5.5 million. Right. They're a couple $100,000, $1 million. They're not as large as what we're talking about right here.
Okay. And then in the letter to Ms. Jarman from Jake Bleed, who's the general counsel for Arkansas Development Finance Authority, he says that it's talking about whether or not they'd be able to help Madison Heights. And he said, please be aware that the Madison Heights properties remain under an obligation to meet ongoing HUD compliance requirements. These properties have areas of noncompliance dating from 2019, and any future commitment of support from ADVA would be contingent on bringing these properties in compliance with HUD and ADVA monitoring guidelines. So what does that mean to us? I mean, they're talking about that there are guidelines there. We're talking about this foreclosure and another entity picking up these apartments. Does that mean that the people that are filing the foreclosure, that they have to follow those guidelines? And so those guidelines, from what I understand, say 10 years.
I think the people that have the outstanding notes think it's like a foreclosure where the debt isn't paid, you foreclose, you get title to the property, you get sold on the courthouse steps, and you bid in the amount that you're owed. And if nobody else bids in anything, then it's a paper transaction for you and you get title to the property. But that's what I tried to emphasize at the beginning. That's not the case. HUD has never agreed to those properties being used in this manner. And the trust agreement is real clear that you can't do that. So, you know, that's sort of null and void. There is an entity that has a claim for around $80,000 against MHA that's against those properties. So they're not going to get it free and clear, even if they buy it, because the other parties are not in the lawsuit, and therefore it's not going to be a judgment against them.
Would we not have those same liabilities with them?
We would have
Is
the
it
same
that
liabilities.
Amtex or what? Is it Amitex or something like that? What's the name of that company?
ITEX is the
ITEX.
name of the company that has the
Okay.
claim for $80,000. And I'm going to say 80 something, I don't know the exact amount.
Yeah, I remember that number.
And so, you know, we would be subject to that. The lender would be subject to that. I didn't know, I don't think Mr. Sarpy knew, but when Mr. Gage said, and if we've given money for operations of MHA, then there's 10 years for each year we've done that. So that means in excess of the trust, there's another 10 years that you're going to be operating this as a housing authority. Now, Mr. Gage said, you will be operating a public housing authority. And he knew it was a mixed use property, meaning some subsidized housing and some market rate housing. So I took that to mean that's how it would be for the private person. Dr. Jarman has raised an issue of it's not clear if that just means for the subsidized housing in there, but anything else they have there, they can charge what they want. And that's one of the issues that obviously needs to be nailed down and is not.
Is that part of our item 20, our legal pathway?
I think it could be. I think it's really part of yes. I mean, part of 20 is to get HUD's letter, and that would be part of that.
Yeah, okay. And there were some other things that you said in your comments about that, and I don't remember what they were, but it appeared to me we had entities that weren't quite together, and maybe we weren't quite together. We got the resolution from MHA, and one of the things that kind of hit me a little bit differently is one of their whereases where it says MHA reserves the right to retain a reasonable administration fee not to exceed 15% of net proceeds. So we're talking about loaning them money, but then they're going to get 15% of the proceeds. What exactly does that mean?
It means that's what they want, and beggars can't be choosers. If the board gave them the money and didn't allow that for the administrative fee, they would not get it. I mean, that doesn't mean they won't get it. It just means that's an item that they obviously are interested in negotiating, and they were trying to get the MHA board to say that's how they would try to make this work.
Okay. So then the MHA can withdraw a portion of the funds in the event of a catastrophic event to address urgent health and safety concerns affecting its residents with board approval. So are they talking about city board approval? Are they talking MHA board of approval? Who's the board?
The
And how
MHA
does that
resolution
approval
would be
work?
talking about the MHA Board of Commissioners, but in the list that I included on the resolutions of things we would require is that there would be no significant steps taken as to Madison Heights 1 or Madison Heights 2 without this board's approval, and that's why it's in there.
So that is the city board. It has
Right.
to come to the city board for approval. Okay, well, those are my questions. There's a lot of, this is like making sausage. There's a lot of pieces of this that have to come together for a good entity. And so going through all this stuff in the last couple of days, those came up and I thought, what does this really mean? And we started out from paying off the debt, which was 1.2 or 1.5, and now we've gone to a different level. And
No, 1.2 or 1.5 was an amount just to get them to agree to a continuance.
Right.
The debt has gone from about 5.5 to 6.
Okay.
No. Yeah, 5.5 to 6 for the debt.
So The debt has gone from, since we started bringing items before the board, 5.4 to 5.5 currently. The reason why we're saying 6 million is because there will be interest accrued between today and whenever we would get the funding. And so in order to prevent us from having to come back to the board to get approval to do that again, we said up to amount to $6 million. We wouldn't issue more than what we would need.
I remember us talking about that, and then all of a sudden it went to 10 million, then it was 5.4, then it was 7 million. And so, you know, what's the real number?
It's 5.5.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Director Hines?
Thank you. Tom, in your conversations with HUD, you talked about the PSP intervention. Did you talk about any other interventions that HUD could take?
Not that I know of. I know that we talked about the August 1 date, the foreclosure, and got the, you know, clear language that this was still going to be, what man said was, they're going to be a public housing authority. It's going to be a public housing authority for the next several years, whether the city owns it, whether MHA owns it, or whether a private investor owns it.
Right, okay. So would you find it interesting that HUD does have another lever that they can throw?
I would not be surprised at all. I mean, I've tried to master what I can.
Well, and this kind of goes to what Director Miller was talking about government intervention. So HUD's the regulating authority on this housing authority created by the state and enacted by us. We've all got a little skin in the game. Because the housing authority is in troubled status, and it's my understanding that HUD could still place it in receivership, which would set aside pretty much everything. It would bring everything to a halt. They've got much bigger levers from a government standpoint that they can throw to do it. It's my understanding that they get a 1-year time frame, which I think happens in about August or into July. August is when I think they gave us that status. That's the 1-year bell ring on that. I'm going to give you my view on this. I'm going to vote for 20 and 21 to keep the table set. I'm not going to support us issuing the short-term financing yet because I still think we can act even if we don't have it ready in the meantime. My feeling is that if this property actually forecloses on, HUD will intervene and put the housing authority in receivership because they will view that as a material failure within the troubled status. And I think that's where we're waiting on a clock. That's my feeling. And I would even go as far as to ask for a resolution to be drawn up for this board to ask HUD to intervene and put it in receivership. Because this is not a problem, like we've all talked about, this is not a problem of our making. This goes on to previous, I've been on this board long enough. We got HUD righted almost 10 years ago, and within 3 years after getting it corrected, we were down this road again. That's my biggest concern. We've got Sunset Terrace and Paris Towers that are involved in RAD deals that I find it curious that we asked questions last week about whether or not CAHC or the Housing Authority has any interest in those properties. Dr. Jarman said, no, they don't. But then we get an email this week from it was from the RAD partner, Gorman, saying basically that if we didn't have a member appointed that could sign off on this deal, they weren't going to be able to get the financing. So if something requires our sign off on a financing deal, it means it means you're party to it. So, and at the end of the day, Sunset Terrace and Paris Towers are MHA properties. They're even though they're in these RAD deals, they're still at the end of the day, their properties. That's what gives me greatest pause about doing this. And what I'm saying is, not saying no, I'm saying this is not right now. But I will vote for 20 and 21 to give us the bandwidth we need to act, and we can pull the trigger up and until August 1st on the short-term financing. And we, to me, I'd rather take our chances at that point on the foreclosure, and if that entity is not wise enough to realize that we've taken action, it's just gonna take us 60 to 90 days to get the funds to do it. But I still think at the end of the day, HUD intervenes and puts the housing authority in receivership, and it opens up all kinds of gates and federal government resources that they've already got reserve funds that they can specifically deal with this, that don't have anything to do with governmental cuts. They've got, that they can take. And that's kind of where I'm at on this whole deal. And it's, of all the folks up here, I started this with eyes wide open with Baker's rendition. And I get it from a business deal. And if I had higher, in business, my risk tolerance is a lot higher, but it's a slam dunk. You're right, Virgil. It's a net proceed. You could fall on your face and still come out smelling like a rose for the $6 million. Tom, I'll disagree with you on getting full title to that property. Everybody's heard of the golden rule. Well, let me tell you what the real golden rule is. Who has the gold makes the rules. If we're going to do this deal and loan it, then we set the terms to get exactly what we want, how we want it, because we're the lender of last resort on this unless HUD intervenes. And so at that point, a 15% management fee? Not no, but hell no. They might get 5% to manage it, to give them something to cover some of their employee costs. But I just don't think, like you said, you can hope for one thing and wish for another, but that's kind of my viewpoint on this whole deal. And that's where, when I talked about this, don't want to use reserve funds if we can do it. And even this short-term financing is a long shot at best that we can even legally do it. If somebody challenges in that 30-day objection period, we're threading a needle to get this done at best. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And I want to leave the door open, but I don't want to pull the trigger on the short-term financing tonight because I still think we have time to do it. There's a lot of other avenues that still haven't been explored with the federal government.
Director Hines, thank you for your comments. Just for clarification, just from process, Mr. Sarpy, if item 22 is not passed tonight, does that hinder the short-term note process for the 60 days?
So the ordinance would give us the authorization to begin seeking quotes from lenders. And so we wouldn't begin seeking quotes from lenders through our formal bid process until we have that ordinance approved.
So you couldn't start the 60-day process, and you need to start the 60-day process when?
We would need to start it. If you want the funds before August 1st, we would have to start it basically tomorrow.
And so, again, I appreciate everything that Director Hines is sharing, but just level set, because I totally appreciate everything you're saying. If item 22 doesn't pass, we can't provide fundings to save Madison Heights, correct?
Through a short-term financing vehicle, correct?
Yes or no?
We have
through a short-term note, yes or no?
Correct.
All right. Just want to make sure the board members are aware. Director Computers, or Director Hines, did you have your hand back up?
Yes.
I know, because you were just there. I'll go right back to you.
And also, the $2 million from the sale of those properties, one, I think HUD has to approve how they're used. And they've already been, some of them have been used, a majority to pay off debts that the housing authorities had that are over a year old, to their software provider, MRI, to their legal counsel. So those funds, a lot of them have been spent. So there's no $2 million secret escrow fund out there. A lot of those funds from the sale of those properties, that's why HUD authorized the sale of the properties.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Hines said a lot of the things that I was thinking, but to clarify, the mayor said that 22 would be off the table, and you were about to say, but, and so 22, the short-term financing, if it didn't pass tonight, would be off the table, but there would continue to be other options.
So in order, if you wanted the $6 million before August 1st, then we would have to get approval to begin the process to issue short-term financing today.
But there are other options.
As mentioned previously by the mayor, there is fund balance that we could use to pay off the notes. It wouldn't have the conditions that comes with the short-term financing. It'd be conditions as set forth by our city attorney. but it wouldn't have the requirements which short-term financing does, that you have to acquire the property.
Shared, earlier, is that this city board is, you all were bringing forth the ordinance on June 17th, where we've all discussed what you guys would like utilize from that amount. If you don't want to utilize for that amount, we can give that $6 million. But I think you all have said you want to do that. And the other amount is the 13.1, which by law is supposed to be for basically a very disastrous reasons. So I don't necessarily know we can. I mean, clearly a board action you can do it, but it may set forth some issues with our bond rating. So that's the issue there. And then thirdly is the fund balance. But we can, just because we make a little extra in March. If we don't make it back up in April, then we're gonna have to find that money somewhere else too from general operations. So the only pots we have, the only available pots is the short-term note or the reserve funds that you all have already made commitments to, that you plan to vote on June 17th. But if you don't want to make those commitments, you can use that. But I believe you all individually told me you wanted those utilized for certain things. So
I think when we first started discussing, from the time we first started discussing this until today, we have had many, many, many more questions. And some of those things have helped bring clarity and some of them have not. And then when we saw in the last couple of weeks continued resignations, and it seems like continued turmoil on the board, the MHA board, and then we get a letter today that said we're launching an investigation, and then Director Hines brings up a potential receivership. And so we've all been reading and we've been studying and people have been sending questions, but I don't know that I have enough clarity. I don't want to stop it. I want to leave options open, but I'm not sure.
And Director, just for clarity for Director Webb, there's no MHA board member has resigned. That's been the CHC, which is the nonprofit that was voted on by the MHA board, but we're dealing with MHA. No one has resigned from MHA. As it relates to Congressman Hills, that's a request to do what the federal government's already done. The federal government is already in the midst of an open investigation into MHA right now as we speak. The Office of Inspector General has already started and completed a investigation into MHA. So I just want to make sure everybody understands the facts. But I think what Congressman Hill's doing is asking to do a new investigation, maybe, but they're still in the open investigation right now. So that's just for clarity for everyone. Director Hines?
Yeah. And just clear, I'm fully aware it takes 60 days to get, what I'm saying is if we don't pass this, I get it. We got a 60-day, but if we come back a month from now and things have changed and we decide to do it, that lender will just have to understand they won't get their money until the end of August or September. That's what I'm saying. I fully understand that. But if we set these other two, all we got to do is come back and pass the ordinance. We can go get the short-term financing at any point, but there is a 60-day delay in us getting it, really probably 90 days after you issue the bonds. I get the time frame. What I'm saying is, yeah, if we want to have the funds by the deadline of August 1st, then sure. But if we decide to take action between now and then, even if we don't have the money, if that lender is dumb enough to look at it and say, well, it's in process, they've already passed an ordinance, and we know we're going to get our money, they can still foreclose on the property and sell it. I mean, there's a lot of options, but I'm telling you, it's all the multifamily dealers that developers that I know, some work in market rate, some work in subsidized, some of them do both. I have talked to all of them about this to see if there was somebody that had and they said there is so much proverbial hair on the deal that nobody will go, not even a management company to come in and management for us wouldn't do it because there's so much crap on this. It's so bad. And I want to remind this board that had we not taken action to remove those MHA board members, this thing would already be in receivership. We had good enough faith we could put people in to try to bail this out. And I just think, despite their best efforts over a year and a half now, it's taken us so long to try to right the ship that really the only life vest and the only life preserver out there is for HUD to put it in receivership. They can trip all kinds of things. We're not the federal government. We're local municipal government. And I think we're just kicking the can down the road because there's some inherent problems that I just don't know that they can recover from.
Director Pierce and Director Adcock.
Well, a couple of things. Virgil is in banking and I'm not. But the difference between what happened in the bailouts and what we're talking about here is that the federal government prints money. And if you don't believe it, look at the deficit we have right now and what the new bill is going to do to the deficit. We have to have a balanced budget. So if we take $2 million or $1.5 million or $3 million out, that is $3 million or $2 million we can't spend next year, unequivocally. It doesn't make any difference. We have to have a balanced budget. So I agree with you, Virgil, it's a bailout, but it's not, it's the federal government prints money. So they want to do something, they just print more. We can't do that. That's one. The second thing is that besides my objection to being in the apartment business, if we got to that point, Tom or Nick, now knowing that Dr. Garman wasn't, that there's more properties in MHA than we thought before, if there is a problem with one of those properties, or the projections don't come through, or there's a catastrophe, or there's a tornado comes through, or something happens to those properties, who is on the line for making up that shortfall for these loans?
Dr. Jarman, if you'll just come up and explain, I think you'll give some clarity to help everybody understand who owns what.
I certainly wasn't trying to make any effort to be misleading. We do not own the towers. We do not own Sunset Terrace. And we've got two more properties, Cumberland and Metropolitan Village, that McCormick Barron. These properties are owned by the developer. We do not own them. We don't manage them. We have a 0.005% ownership. And the nonprofit has I don't know the percentages, but nevertheless, it's negligible. This is how these RAD deals go. We don't own those properties. At the end of the 15-year compliance period, we have what we call as a ROFA. That's the right of first refusal. That then allows the housing authority to come back into the deal. But it's only at that point that we are even allowed to come back in. Up until that point, no, that is strictly the ownership of the developer. Do you have any other interpretation of?
No, that's. Yes, ma'am. But that's not what I'm worried about.
Okay.
My question to you and to Tom and to Nick is that if we ended up doing this and it comes to fruition, and there's a shortfall, the projections don't work, and we have to pay the short-term financing, where does the money come from?
The short-term financing, we just mentioned that we were going to, oh, somebody said I got it? Oh, okay, there you go, sorry.
So regardless of what happens, if we issue short-term debt, the city's on the hook for the short-term debt because we're pledging the city's full faith and credit to pay that debt.
My point exactly. So if this doesn't work, if the projections don't work, then we have to dip into our funds to cover the debt.
Director Capires, let's just play out the next 12 months. If the city board decides to save Madison Heights, the first payment is around 1.2 to 1.6. We already have a vote from their board that when they sell these pending properties, that they're going to put into a reserve account, irrespective of the 15% management fee, and that money is going to pay our first balloon payment, which, let's say we pass it today, July of 2026, we're gonna get them, first off, we're gonna get that, as soon as they sell it, we're gonna get that money then, and then we're gonna pay our first payment before July 26th. That's number one. So that means that if we pass this today, that our real first payment is not until July of 27. And we, based off of all the analysis and the deals and the 92% and 120%, we're gonna have this thing sold by July 27th. It's gonna be, and when I say sold, meaning that we're gonna be out the hook, we're gonna get our money back because there's gonna be some type of a housing provider who's gonna buy this property and manage it because it's worth $18 million and it already has existing cash flow. We're not gonna have this past July of 27, point blank period. We can spend all day today and ask all these questions. The question is, do we wanna do the deal or not? I mean, that's really where we are.
Can I?
Someone has to call for it, but Director Pierce. Director, we'll let Director Pierce talk.
And the joke always in investments is you want a dumb doctor in investment because it never works out very well. And everything looks rosy on the front end, and dumb doctors always make dumb investments. And I look at all the numbers and I understand the numbers. But if you're going to make an investment with the city's money, you've got to look at it as what happens if it goes south. So my question that you answered is that if it goes south, or one of the other properties goes south, or the properties don't sell, and we do short-term financing, then anything that we can't do, whether it's the first year or the second year or someone doesn't come in there, the city has to pay that obligation. Is that right?
Yes, the loan would be with the city. They're two separate transactions, to be very clear. The city would be getting a short-term financing in order to acquire something. We would then have a separate agreement with MHA related to any loans that are associated with the short-term financing. They're not one and the same.
Right. But if the second loan didn't pay off the first loan, then we are on the hook for it.
Correct. We would be responsible for any short-term financing.
And that's my whole point. And again, I appreciate all Baker's work, and I'm sure he's going to call me up tonight and say, you dumb blankety blank, what are you doing this for? But I think it is the wrong signal to send that we're getting into the apartment business, that we're using fear to tell these people out here that they're going to be displaced, where the overwhelming chances, at least a third or a fourth of the places already have that 10-year stipulation on it. And I think the rest of them will too. And so I'm going to vote no on all three of them if it gets down to the third. Thank you.
Director Adcock?
Yes.
I'll get
One thing to Lance. Lance, this man that has this loan that we're going to pay off, he's sitting there going to take our loan payment, but if he doesn't get that, he can sell this property up to $18 million. So he may be hoping that we don't pay it. Mayor, I'd like to call for the question, please.
There's a motion to call for the question. There's a second. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. The question's been called. So we're now we've had just so everyone understands, procedurally, the Robert Rules of Order, she called the question, so there's no more commentary on the item. So now, since we've already read the resolution, we're going to take a vote. And so members of the board, to the public, the question is, do we want to save Madison Heights? That's a yes. If you don't, that's a no. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Ayes have it. So now we'll go to item 21.
Can we have a count?
You want to do a roll call?
Yes.
There's a roll call on item 20. We'll do roll calls on all of them. So.
Director Lewis,
Yes.
Director Campiris,
No.
Director Phillips is absent. Director Adcock? Yes. Director Miller? Yes. Director Webb? Yes. Director Peck? Yes. Director Hines? Yes. Vice Mayor Wyrick? No. Did you say no? No. Okay. 6-2.
Item 20 passes. Now we got to go to item 21.
And for the record, we've got to change some of the numbering on the one you have before.
Based off the city attorney's language afterwards. Item 21, will you read the resolution?
A resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into a contract with Friday, Eldridge, and Clark LLP in an amount not to exceed $75,000 to serve as bond counsel for the proposed issuance of short-term and long-term financing instruments and for other purposes.
All those in favor, please. There's a motion. There's a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. I think we said do a roll call on all of them. Roll call.
Director Lewis? Yes. Director Campiris? No. Director Adcock? Yes. Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Webb?
Yes.
Director Peck?
Yes.
Director Hines?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wyrick?
No.
6-2.
All right. For ordinance number 22, would you read the ordinance for the first time?
An ordinance authorizing the issuance of a promissory note to provide short-term financing under Amendment Number 78 to the Arkansas Constitution for the acquisition of real property, prescribing other matters pertaining thereto, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on second reading.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Second reading.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance of a promissory note to provide short-term financing under Amendment Number 78 to the Arkansas Constitution for the acquisition of real property, prescribing other matters pertaining thereto, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance of a promissory note to provide short-term financing under Amendment Number 78 to the Arkansas Constitution for the acquisition of real property, prescribing other matters pertaining thereto, to declare an emergency, and for other purposes. Third and final reading.
Members of the board, we've had 3 readings. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Ayes have it.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Director Lewis?
Yes.
Director Campiris?
No.
Director Adcock?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Webb?
No.
Director Peck?
No.
Director Hines?
No.
Vice Mayor Wyrick?
No.
Motion fails.
3-5.
Motion fails on issuing the short-term note. And to the members of the public, what this means is, just so everyone's aware, so you know, as we walk away, the city board has approved to create the legal pathway to save Madison Heights. And they've also created to order an attorney to save Madison Heights. But ultimately, to save Madison Heights, you have to fund the short-term note. And so as of right now, we do not have funds to save it unless something happens between now and the next month from that process. So that's where we are. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware. So please follow what we do between now and the next month or so, because the only way to fund it is to do a short-term note. And I want to reiterate what Director Hines shared. If there's some things that play out here in the next month, week, 2 or 3 weeks, we may be able to do a short-term note then. And then it'll be up to, now by making this decision, as we continue to work, it'll be up to the lender to see if because we're making an effort that they want to do it. But now we're beholden to the lender in that aspect. So just want to make sure everyone's clear. So if you have any questions, I'll be out there as we all continue to work to save Madison Heights. So if you have any questions, please ask me or Director Miller, any person who voted for it. So. All right, I think now we got to go to item 23. Madam Clerk.
Could you open the public hearing?
Public hearing is open.
An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. First reading.
There's a motion taken. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Second reading.
An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
There's a motion taken. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, say nay. Ayes have it.
Who had the second? I'm sorry. Okay.
Second. All in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading.
An ordinance to reclassify property located in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
Members of the board, we have 3 readings. We got several against. We want to go with Amanda Hope. Amanda Hope.
Hello, my name is Amanda Hope, and I am here to oppose the rezoning of Vista Point. The board made a decision last time to deny the rezoning. And so I just wanted to, I believe you all are familiar with that process that we did. And so I just wanted to talk about the safety piece of the neighborhood. I've been in Vista Point, of course, for 15 years. I was the first resident that was that lived in Vista Point. I was in that neighborhood for over a year by myself, and then they started to build other housing within that complex. Initially, when I moved there, it was supposed to be a neighborhood that was supposed to be gated, but because it has changed hands so many times, that never came to fruition. And so now we are faced with the Apex, who owns the majority of the property, wanting to rezone from single family and add duplexes. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the safety. Of course, where we live, there's only one entrance into that neighborhood. You have to come up Skyline, County Line Road to Skyline to Vista Point. So there's only one way in, one way out. And then, of course, we know in March there was a fire. We're surrounded by woods. So if a fire was to break out, as it did in West Little Rock, then that poses a problem for the constituents who live within the neighborhood to get out. It will also cause a panic, as it talked about within within the article in West Little Rock, where the people was panicking because they had to evacuate Walmart and the Sam's. Of course, in that particular situation, there was multiple outlets, but in our neighborhood, there isn't multiple outlets. So you're faced with people trying to get out of that neighborhood all at one time, which will end up coming to Skyline, and if they're panicking trying to get out, that causes a jam. And that also causes the emergency vehicles to have an issue coming within that neighborhood to try to put out the fire. So I wanted to express that and express that the board continue to deny the rezoning of that neighborhood. There isn't another outlet, as it was talked about at the last time, that they cannot build a second outlet to that neighborhood. So that's the only outlet in and out. So that's my position. And then based on what everybody else is going to talk about, I agree with what they are going to say as well.
Thank you so much. Mayor Mike Kemp.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. Members of the board here, I really do appreciate this opportunity to come before you, and I appreciate, too, the professional way in which you conduct your meetings. Thank you very much for all that y'all do. I am here to speak against this change, and to me, I think your staff has served you very well and explained why y'all should deny this appeal. The Planning and Zoning Commission has already voted it down more than 2-1. They realize too, just like the prior speaker mentioned, there's only one way in and out of this neighborhood. But what probably most folks don't realize is, although Central Arkansas Water may say they supply the water to that neighborhood, they can't do it without Shannon Hills. Shannon Hill, the water is coming out of the Shannon Hills water tower that our residents are continuing to pay for. We had to issue a bond, we had to do a bond issue in order to even build the thing. We're going to be paying for it for years. We agreed to provide water from that water tower, which is at the very entrance to that neighborhood, because we were promised it would be single-family homes. That's the only, and we were trying to be good neighbors to our big neighbor to the north. We want to work with y'all. We want to do anything we can to help y'all. But this, we feel like, is just an egregious appropriation, if you were to approve this, of our water storage capabilities. We agreed to 45. That's what we agreed to. Single-family homes. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that if you put 2 houses or 2 families on each one of those lots, you're going to significantly increase the amount of water that that neighborhood is going to require to be stored in our bought and paid for by Shannon Hills residents water tower. And again, please, please don't do this to us. We've planned very diligently. We've got 280-something homes going in on the other opposite from this location. We got other homes that are becoming too. We're a growing community. As a matter of fact, we're the fastest growing in Saline County, 3rd fastest growing in Central Arkansas, the 5th fastest growing in all of Arkansas. Please be the good neighbor to us that we have tried so hard to be to y'all. This would really, and another thing too, I'm not real impressed with this developer. According to our agreement with Central Arkansas Water, they are supposed to be paying $1,200 to us before they get a water meter. I had my entire Public Works office staff going over this past week. Yeah, both of them. Both of my office staff members. They had to take away time from other duties to go back and search because we wanted to make sure. They have never paid the $1,200 per house that they have built there. Why do we think they're going to do anything better when they farther down the line? Please don't do this to us. Please don't. We're small, but we're growing fast. We want to work with y'all any way that we can. But this is really putting an additional burden on us after our people paid for that water tower. If y'all were to approve this, it would be like Shannon Hills just coming in and saying, okay, we're going to take X number of gallons out of a Little Rock water tower. And y'all not having any way around it. If y'all do that to us, it would be the same thing as us coming in and taking water storage capabilities out of your water towers. Please don't do this. Your staff has explained to you already why it's not a good idea. We will continue to help y'all every way that we can there. We will continue to probably be the first responder that gets to that neighborhood because Little Rock is so far away. You have to go through Shannon Hills to get to this neighborhood. It's not a good idea. One way in, one way out. You have a big fire at the entrance. None of those folks are going to get out. We saw what happened in California, Palisades. It's not, I mean, don't do this to us, please. We're asking you very nicely. We come to your meetings. This is the 4th time this has been scheduled. We've had to make arrangements to be here. I don't know if they forwarded it to you or not, but I wrote a letter in opposition to this and provided it to Planning and Zoning. Our city council voted unanimously, and it was a roll call vote against this idea. It makes no sense for you. I mean, I know y'all wouldn't want us to do this to y'all. I know your people would not want y'all to spend your money on Shannon Hills residents. I'm asking y'all to give us the same consideration. Please, please don't do this to us. And if you, I'm having some reactions to some medication here too, so y'all probably seen me going in and out here. Nothing contagious, it's just nasty medication. Sometimes it does this to us. And I apologize for having to get up and leave out, but it was, believe me, y'all did not want me to stay here. But
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much for all that y'all do. I'm sorry I get emotional because I love our little town. I've been mayor there now for 15 years. Please, please don't do this to us. They are already taking advantage. We're going to have to jump through a whole bunch of other, we're going to have to go after these folks just to get our money that they owe us. That's not right. It's not right. Yeah, we're small. We don't have a big staff. We haven't told you know how many people I've got citywide on the city payroll? 12. 12. That includes police. It includes all the public works. It includes office staff. We don't have the means. This was a huge undertaking for us just to build this water tower. And our people have paid, they paid for it. Don't take their resources away from them, please. We will continue to provide the water there for those 45 lots. We will live up to our end of the deal. And it is, and I had the documents here, but I was out all afternoon with our public works staff, our entire public works staff, all 5 of them, because we had an emergency situation, and they're going to be working on it through the weekend. It really is, you know, it strains us. If we run out of storage because of actions that y'all have taken here prematurely, it's gonna be devastating for our little town. Please, 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 don't do this to us. I can promise you, we would not do this to y'all. We would not, I guarantee you. Our people are not that way. I'd be happy to answer any questions if any of y'all have any questions for me. And I'm sorry, it's such a struggle for us to, you know, keep the general fund full, keep our water and sewer going. And we've got less than 5,000 people. And we need y'all to work with us, please. Don't impose something on us, please. Please. It just seems like the neighborly thing to do, to not do this to your neighbor.
That's a motion. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second to call the question. All those in favor, please. Well, actually, we do got the applicant. We do have the applicant, but we still, we'll let the applicant speak. Mr. Mayor Reed.
Sir?
They called the question, so, but we'll let the applicant speak, but the call to question is still on the floor, so the applicant. So Mayor Reed, if you'll step aside. Mayor Kemp, I'm sorry, I apologize. I was looking at Michelle Reed was up next. That's the reason why.
You're fine. I appreciate you.
That's the reason. Thank you, Mayor Kemp.
And that's my fault, Mayor. This is my first time in front of the board. I've appeared in front of the Planning Commission several times, and their rules are a little different when you're the applicant. You just get the opportunity to go or defer, and so I neglected to fill out my card when I came in, so that is my fault. So, Board, Mr. Mayor, my name is Kendall Grooms. I'm legal counsel for Apex Professional Construction LLC that filed the application initially with the Planning Commission. And Mr. Mayor, if there's an invoice for a meter that needs to be sent, you send that to me.
Ordering, no, hold on now. We're not about to do that. We've been here working together, Mayor Kemp, all night. It's late, and everybody's been cordial. All right.
So what we have is we filed an application for a zoning change from R2 to R4, not for the purpose of exclusively building a duplex on every single lot there, but at least to have the option available based on cash flow and other things for this subdivision to make it work. Because essentially what you have is you have a subdivision that was platted in 2008. It is a failed subdivision from a development standpoint. It's been through multiple owners. It's been through foreclosures. It's been purchased by multiple people in different states. A lot of the residents at the Planning Commission hearing made accusations that our client lived in California. He doesn't. He's a Little Rock native. He may have talked to many of you because he's called members of the Planning Commission, and I believe he has a plan to call many of you, the directors, to find out what the important residential projects and other land projects are in this city because he wants to help with them. His name is Chase Calhoun. He's built, he's rehabilitated, he's managed properties throughout Little Rock. He's not a flip it and sell it. He maintains properties with high-end tenants. And so what he's proposed is to construct on some of the lots 1,464 square foot per side, two-story duplex homes. The city staff in their report has acknowledged that what has been presented in the building plans and the actual drawings are designed to match the character of the existing homes. It's not a scenario where he's going in and throwing up the cheapest duplex possible on these properties. And so that's something that is in the, I'm sorry. Did somebody ask a question?
Mr. Grooms, keep talking.
Okay. And the staff recommendation, there were essentially three recommendations. One of those has been, well, they've been referenced in part. One of them is the single entrance issue for emergency access. The subdivision itself has multiple cul-de-sacs within it that are designed for emergency vehicle turnaround to be able to get in and out of the subdivision. It's been that way since 2008. It was platted that way in 2008 and approved by the city, and it still exists that way. There's no barricades, there's no blockades, there's been no change, and the roads are still in good working condition. The fire department is asked, as you all know, when an application gets filed such as this, to give an opinion on whether there's an issue. The fire department made no objection to this, that there wasn't adequate access coming in and out. The city has also, there were 7 homes. Apex has built 2 additional homes in the subdivision for the purpose of testing the market to see, can we just build only single-family homes in here and it work? And they're still testing that market with those 2 homes that have been built. But the point is that the city has issued 2 permits to my client in 2024 with this single entrance access issue, and there was no objection on that. Until we made the application to do some of them, to rezone all of them for the purpose of having that option to build some duplexes, is the first time that this came up. And so the whole single entrance issue hasn't been an issue until just now. There's a subdivision that's adjacent to this that has the same issue with single access. It was approved for duplexes going from R2 to R4, and those have been constructed. That was discussed during the Planning Commission meeting. The other issue, there's 2 other issues, but they both arise out of the same thing. It's this issue where the city said, or I'm sorry, where the staff said, we don't want to approve it. We recommend a denial because we don't want to double the density. And I went through a math calculation about residents and sizes, and from a population standpoint, it's not truly a doubling based on the average household for duplexes of this size, a 1,400 square foot house that you've got, or a 1,400 square foot side of a duplex. But from a pure density standpoint, yes, you are doubling it by taking 1 residence on 1 lot and making it 2 residents on 2 lots. But here's the problem with that. The problem with a recommendation of denial was that it's not within the land use plan, is what the staff recommendations say. But this particular land use plan allows for up to 6 units per acre. Even if we built every single one of the 45 lots as duplexes, if Apex did, they are still within that land use plan. They're well under the land use plan of 6 units per acre that's there. So for the staff to make a recommendation that it's not warranted, or we have to deny it because we're doubling the density. Even if you consider the density under the ordinance as a true doubling, you're still within the land use plan. So how can we violate the land use plan when we're still within the land use plan. So that, you guys probably hear lawyers walk in and talk about the legal standard, the arbitrary and capricious. You have to have a logical reason to deny something. And there's just not a logical reason to say you're outside of the land use plan because everything that's been proposed is in conformity with the land use plan. And the other thing about the utilities, the water utility, Mayor got up and talked about the water issue. These are ultimately a Little Rock residents. Yes, what is there now is supported by Shannon Hills Water. But if Shannon Hills Water is inadequate, the city of Little Rock has that obligation to provide water to the residents of the city of Little Rock. And in that regard, the Central Arkansas Water was also asked to weigh in on the application. They made no objection saying if this is converted, we don't have the water resources or can't support the water resources by ourselves or in conjunction with Shannon Hills on that issue. So there was no objection from Central Arkansas Water either. There was zero objections. Only engineering. Engineering was the only objection or negative comment to the application, and that was in regards to the single access. That didn't even come from the fire department. It came from engineering. Okay? And so what we want to do is we're asking the board to overturn that denial that the Planning Commission filed. We want to complete, my client wants to complete an unfinished subdivision. He wants to add affordable housing into the city of Little Rock in this area that is a desirable area in the Benton area. There's a lot of people that want to live there. These size of houses, this 1,400 square foot residence would provide that housing. It's one of the things that the board's directives say are must-do items, are to do what it takes to give affordable options for housing within the city of Little Rock, and that's what this does. And so we are asking you today to reverse that decision of the Planning Commission because we believe this would be a good for the city of Little Rock and a good for the community, and the issues that are there may be perceived issues based on statements, but they are not actual issues that cannot be overcome by reasonable means. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a call to questions on the floor. We got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. We've now had the three readings on this particular item. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Nay. Nays have it. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn? There's a motion second. All in favor, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.